Hi, Chef Randy with you once again. How you doing? Today we're going to do an interesting Louisiana dish. It's crawfish etouffee. That being said, if you would substitute the crawfish in this recipe, you would say cube chicken, shrimp. I've done it with lump crab meat. Of course, the lump crab meat is added right at the end, and I would make a stock with in Louisiana, we can get these things called frozen gumbo crabs, and we make a stock with those, and that's just a great etouffee. Now, etouffee means different things to different people. This etouffee will be started with the roux. All right, I'll talk about the other etouffee a little later. This one starts off with about 6 tablespoons of butter. And because it's a butter roux, as soon as the butter is melted, I'm going to go ahead and throw the flour in. Butter has a tendency to burn, right? And we don't want it to burn, we want it to get brown. So if I would be making a roux, say for a gumbo or something like that, I'd add the oil, and I'd heat the oil until almost a smoking point. Well, until a smoking point, till I see light wisps of smoke on the top, coming out of the top of the pot. Then I would add all of the flour at the same time. So I'm just waiting for this, and it's just about done. So I'm going to add just 6 tablespoons of butter. I'm going to add 4 tablespoons of flour, and we're going to stir. What color are we looking for? We're looking for a light brown. I wouldn't say a really dark brown roux, like if you were making a gumbo or maybe a stew or something like that that you'd use a roux for. I'm looking for really just a light brown roux, lighter than peanut butter. Peanut butter is my go-to color for making a lot of gumbos, especially gumbos that are made with lighter colored proteins. Darker proteins I would make, like for a duck gumbo or for a venison stew or something like that. I would probably make a darker roux. But here I'm just looking at to get it a little past the blonde stage, you know. If this is white roux, then I'm looking for it a little bit darker than this for sure. Now, I was telling Riddick before we started filming, videotaping, in my family, we were very much purists. And to us, the term smothered meant smothered in onions, and that would be it. So, back in my restaurant, if I was featuring a crawfish etouffee, if I had, say, 35 pounds of crawfish tails, I would also have 30 to 35 pounds of grated onion. And the way you started that dish is into the pot, 30 pounds, about 4 or 5 pounds of butter, unsalted butter, and then all of those onions would go in there, and we'd do it on medium heat for a while, and then the moisture would start to come out of the onion and make it kind of liquidy, and we put it on a low fire and just let it go. My father called that technique of melting the onions. All right, and then also along with the butter, you used to be able to buy little packets, 2-ounce packets of crawfish fat. You can't do that anymore. It's against the law for them to produce that. I don't know why. It was just nothing but good. So we had a couple of packets of that too at the beginning. And then when the onions were cooked to the right consistency or the right color or whatnot, it was not much color on it at all. We would go ahead and add all of the crawfish tails along with the additional packets of fat. It was amazing how that etouffee had a real body to the sauce. All right. And it was, then we just add green onions and seasonings, and that's how we'd serve it over hot rice. And that was a favorite at Randolph's, my restaurant back in the day. I closed Randolph's. I didn't close it. I sold it in 2001. So we're just going to get a little bit browner. Can you see this color, Riddick? We don't want to get it too brown, but here we go. Now, the recipe that you have will say that to go ahead and throw in all of the Trinity at one time. I say, nay, nay. Remember when I always said that a lot of times recipes are just a suggestion, all right? I'm going to put in just the onions right now. Why? Because that roux right now is about 360, 370 degrees. And I just want to cook the onions in the roux like this. And what will happen to the onions? They'll start to caramelize. What happens when onions caramelize? They taste unbelievably good. You're bringing out their sugars, okay? If I were to add the onions along with the celery and the bell peppers, which is the trinity in Creole Cajun cooking, onions, bell peppers, celery, yeah. The water content of those other two vegetables would prevent the onions from really doing their job, or making the magic happen is what I call it, because it really makes I think it makes a big difference in that it lends a complexity to the sauce that you wouldn't have otherwise. So yeah. And I would cook this maybe a little bit longer, again for time purposes. I would cook this maybe another 5 minutes or so, just here in the roux by itself. Then I'm going to add shaved pieces of, really thin pieces of garlic. This is really a rustic dish. And stir that around for a while. And once that gets fragrant, because this is really hot, yeah? You don't want to burn the garlic. I'm going to go ahead and add the celery. I'm going to add the green pepper. I'm going to add a bit of thyme, 2 bay leaves, man, I wish you could smell this. Holy cow, does that smell good? That's every Cajun's favorite smell, is when your mama or your daddy or your grandmother is making a roux and you add the onions and the aromatics to it, and oh man, it just fills the house with this unbelievable fragrance and aroma. I had a buddy of mine that loved the smell of bacon so much, and he couldn't eat bacon because he was on a special diet. But he makes his wife cook about 6 or 7 slices of bacon and then give it to somebody or hide it. Just likes the smell of bacon in the house. A little weird. Anyway. And bacon does smell good cooking, doesn't it? Okay, so at this point, again, I would cook it maybe a little bit more. Maybe another 5 or so minutes here, but for taping purposes, we're not taping, we're recording. Videotape went out a long time ago, didn't it? I'm such an old fart, I really am. I'm going to add 2 cups of stock, about in stages though, because I really want that roux to come together here. And I don't want any lumps or anything. So now that that's fine, looks fine, I'm going to add the rest of it. And I'm going to add some tomato product. This is just one chopped Roma tomato. You can concasse it if you want. If not, that's fine. I didn't. It's a small dice, so it's no big deal. So I'm going to let this go. I want these flavors to develop. I'll let it come to a boil. And then I'm going to bring it down to a simmer. And I'll let that simmer for about, I don't know, say 20, 30 minutes. Yeah. So we're going to do that and we'll be right back. All right, this is part 2 of crawfish etouffee. If you come in and take a look at this, this has been simmering for about 20, 25 minutes or so. And different color. See that brown color? Okay, but before we add the crawfish in, I'm going to add a pinch of red pepper flakes. Add a little salt. Add a little pepper. Now I'm going to add all of my crawfish. And the crawfish is packed in its own fat. So it's going to change the color up a little bit, and that's okay. We want that. The crawfish is already cooked, okay? We're basically just warming it again, all right? We don't want to, basically when it comes back to a boil, we want to take it out. We also want to take out the, bay leaves. You know, I have a string of another bay leaf. Ah, there it is. That was the thyme bundle. Got another bay leaf in here somewhere. Look at that. Oh well. I'm sure it'll come to pass. All right. I want to add some lemon zest. A little bit of lemon juice. Just gives it a little brightness. I'm going to add some hot sauce. Don't worry, it's not that hot. Crystal hot sauce is a good Louisiana brand. I'm also going to add a little bit of Worcestershire. I'm basically just waiting for this to come back to a simmer. Again, you can make etouffee out of anything. I was telling our cameraman earlier, when we would smother onion, when we would smother like chicken or pork chops, you know, some people like to make a gravy with that, and that's good. I mean, I like that. I like this. But my grandmother used to just slice a bunch of onions and get them going. Well, she browned the pork chops first, then threw the onions in, and this was slices of onions, and they were kind of thick. And she'd get them going a bit, and then she put the pork chops back in and put a top on it and just let it go. Those pork chops are just about to fall off the bone, and there was a sauce, and the onions were so sweet. We do that with chicken, we do that with pork chops, we do that with seven steak. That's a beef cut that's popular in South Louisiana. Good stuff, let me tell you. All right, we're coming back up to the temp now. It's starting, little bubbles are starting to break. I'm going to taste for holy cow, is that good? Never want to double dip, yeah? What did I do with the salt? Oh, there it is. Thought that was empty. That ought to do it. All right. So we always eat crawfish etouffee over hot rice. We'll mold the rice there. And we'll also throw in some parsley in here. Clean up the rim. A little green onion, more chives, and babies, we're talking about one of God's greatest pleasures. One of them. Greatest gifts to South Louisiana. Etouffee, baby. Perfect. Again, I'll see you next time.